I invite you for the next 10 minutes approximately as the music plays, just close your eyes and relax, and rest in the presence and hold space.
Sakala Niti Sakala Vigna Karatura Hamari Kanganapataye Namo Namaha Kanganapataye Namo Namaha Kanganapataye Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang means community of truth in Sanskrit. Wherever two or more people who are on the path of awakening and spiritual transformation come together to share their journey, we have a satsang. Could just call it spiritual community. So welcome. It's open to everyone. We come from different spiritual teachers, belief systems, backgrounds. What we have in common is that we're all experiencing the process of awakening and the flowering of the heart in oneness with the divine source and with all that is. So, glad you're here with us tonight. This is what the world needs, is those of us who are awakening, those of us who are evolving spiritually, to reach out and connect around the world, across national and continental boundaries, ideological barriers. Nothing can keep us from reaching out in the spirit and energetically to connect. When we do, our spiritual strength and depth is multiplied exponentially. That's why it's so important to do that, as we're doing it now with the internet, but also in our local communities. Gather together with other people who share a common journey with you. They're there. They may not be in your particular group. We have more in common with people of other belief systems and other groups who are actually experiencing awakening than people in our own groups that haven't really quite crossed that threshold of really beginning to awaken in oneness with all that is. So here we are, and we do come from different countries and different continents, and we're sharing tonight the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a transmission of divine presence, enlightened awareness, unconditional love and grace to bring about awakening and the flowering of the heart. It's a wonderful thing. When the Divine showed it to us 7 years ago, the Presence said, give this now to people. Suzanne and I have been involved with a number of different kinds of energy transmissions and spiritual transfers over many, many years. And some of them, all of them, really quite beautiful in their own way. The Divine said, this one belongs to me, not to you, not to any master, avatar, or saint, or spiritual hierarchy or organization. It belongs to me, and I give it freely as a gift of grace to whoever seeks help in the process of awakening and transformation. And the Divine underscored its grace. Grace is a gift given out of pure unconditional love with no strings attached. And so the Divine said, give it away. Don't charge for it. And tell people when they receive this blessing, they are immediately initiated to be able to give it themselves, to share it with other people. So please do that. And if you have any insecurity about how to explain to people what you want to share with them, we have a 36-minute video on our website at floweringheart.org. There are various links to it right on the home page. And you're welcome to download it or just click the player right there on our website. And you can do that on a laptop or other computer, and just invite a friend or a few friends over and hit play, and 36 minutes later everyone will have some kind of understanding and experience, because there's an initiation guided meditation in that video that everyone seems to feel. So please share it far and wide. And tonight, through the entire satsang, please join us. We're doing it now, and even if it doesn't look like we are, we're holding the intent and asking the Presence to flow the Flowering Heart Blessing out to you and everyone who ever watches the video recording of this satsang in the future. Because in spirit, there is no time or space. It's all here and now. Even if you watch this video recording 10 years after it was made, it's still alive, the Divine is present, and the Presence is flowing through the blessing. So, now that we've got that, we want to open it to questions and answers for a while on the spiritual journey, and then we'll hold some even stronger intentions for divine intervention in the situations that you're carrying in your heart that you brought with you here tonight. And we'll conclude with the open eye light meditation at the end. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
And if you haven't watched the communion with the Cosmic Christ from yesterday, I highly recommend it. I'm still mulling it over and chewing on the spiritual soul food. So it was really good. He brought together a lot of different concepts in a very unique way, and really, really beautiful.
And I touched on things that we learned in India from the Taoist tradition, as well as the mystical Christian tradition. And the subject of the meditation for yesterday was becoming like children, which, as it turns out, is probably the most important aspect or quality to cultivate if we want to penetrate the veil and enter into truth. So, but please don't hold back your questions about anything pertaining to the spiritual journey, your journey, or just questions you might have about awakening, about divine union, about meditation, or mystical prayer, or really anything. And that catalyzes the divine to inspire us with insight to share with you. So you actually have a powerful role to play in what unfolds in these satsangs. Something else just went in one ear and out the other.
Give a like or a love if you're here tonight.
That was it. Yeah, it looks like
So
you already got the message.
Yeah.
But if you're watching on Vimeo or LinkedIn, or you'd have to enter a comment, which would be great, even if it's just hi, I was here, because we go and look and see who dropped into the satsangs and send you special hugs and blessings after we're done. If you're on Facebook Live, all you have to do is click one of those little emojis, the heart or the thumbs up, or one of those other nice ones. There are several to choose from. And they all let us see who dropped in. We'll wait a few minutes and see if you come up with something that might inspire the divine to speak to us.
What about on Vimeo?
I'm seeing all kinds of names. I've been checking. Yeah. So. Got any questions?
Why is there some invisible hair tickling my face tonight? I can't find it.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, and I clicked on the list and I saw James Burnside's name on the list. I almost said something, but then I have to start mentioning every name on the list. And James just entered, yes, I'm here with you. It's like you heard me, brother.
Right.
It's always good to see you. And Milan says, can you speak of unconditional love? That's almost a contradiction.
I would be putting conditions on it.
No, but yeah, unconditional love, I mean, is something that I used to hear all the time that humans know next to nothing or nothing about it. But as it turns out, more and more people are experiencing and becoming living vessels of unconditional love. What is love? That's the first question before we can talk about unconditional love. And unfortunately, in the English language, we got one word for it. I love ice cream. I love cats. I love my wife. I love God. Those are very different kinds of love. In Greek, which I know very little of, just enough to get in trouble probably, but I studied biblical Greek. And I learned in looking into the word love that the Greek language has 4 different words that are translated love in English. And it's interesting. The first one, well, it doesn't matter, I'm going to put it in the order I want to use, would be eros, erotic love. And I think we all know what erotic love is, and eros permeates the universe, the passion of creation and expression on an erotic level isn't just human sexuality. It's a force that's present everywhere in nature. But erotic love is different than spiritual love. The next kind of love I might mention is storge. Storge is affection. It's what you feel for your dog. You know, you generally love them and there's affection there, but it isn't erotic and it isn't romantic. And the third word for love we might touch on is phileo. I've heard of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Phileo is sometimes translated brotherly love, but it can also be romantic love. Filio is the love that we feel when we encounter another person who just sparks us and makes us feel good. That isn't necessarily romantic. It could be brotherly love, the love that friends share. But it is the love, the kind of love that describes human romance. You really spark me. You make my heart sing. I feel things I've never felt before when I'm around you. I am in love with you. That kind of love is phileo. And it's more than erotic love. It's more than just affection. And most romantic poetry is flowing from phileo with a mix of eroticism thrown in sometimes. But unfortunately, human love is very fickle. So someone might say, I love you with all of my heart. I give my life to you till death do us part, for better or for worse. And then the next thing you know, those two people are in the divorce court because someone has broken a promise or cheated on the other, and that was a condition. The condition was, as long as you make me feel good. When you start not making me feel good or make me feel crummy, then phileo just kind of withers. And it was like singing songs of friendship and romance, and then the next thing you know, I don't even want to see you or talk to you again. That's conditional love. And we humans tend to put conditions on all of our love. You can't cross this line. You can only go so far if I'm going to keep loving you. Well, also, most of the way that we use love is a verb or a feeling. The things I was just describing were feelings. Feelings of eros, feelings of affection, feelings of brotherly and sisterly love. Love is not a feeling. Love is not a verb. We often say, I love you. Love is something I do. No, love, true love, is not a verb, and it's not a feeling. And there's a Greek word for that too. The fourth Greek word translated love is agapao, or agape. And that's often translated as unconditional or self-sacrificial love. Love that knows no bounds and would lay down your life for the other without question. And that is actually an aspect of the divine presence. It's a quality of the divine presence itself. I mean, the divine has been described in a number of different ways. I think unknowable is the place we should start, and indescribable, and as soon as we use words, we're probably falling a little short of the mark. But in India, the divine, Brahma, the creator, is described as Sat Chit Ananda, having these three qualities that mystics experience. Sat is being or existence. Chitta is supreme consciousness or awareness. And Ananda is usually translated bliss, but it could be translated unconditional love. So these are qualities that the divine itself has. So true love is the divine presence flowing through us. We only actually have true love, agapao or agape love, unconditional love flowing through us when it is the divine presence itself flowing through us in a relationship and to us in a relationship. And the divine's love for us is unconditional. We can fall on our faces a million times. We can make a million mistakes. We can run from the light a million times and turn around. And the love of the divine presence for us is unwavering. As we begin to make direct connection with divine source, one of the first things that happens, according to St. John the Beloved, who was Jesus' beloved disciple, who wrote a lot about unconditional divine love, he said one of the ways, and the main way, that we know we have passed from spiritual darkness into spiritual light and spiritual life is that we begin to love our brothers and sisters. And John says, if you say you're in the light, if you say you're walking in infinite life, and you have hatred or apathy even, because hatred is just like not caring. If you have uncaring apathy toward a brother or a sister, John says, don't lie, you're not in the light. If you're in the light, here's how you'll know, because there will be love. The capacity, I remember I would marvel over the years that I was finding the capacity within myself to love people that were mean, to love people that were unkind to me, to love people that were unlovable by human standards. It was hard, no eros, but it was hard to feel affection or even brotherly and sisterly, solidarity with them. They were just nasty. And yet I would find, even for vicious criminals, that there was this love welling up inside of me and flowing through me, and it turned out that was the divine. So unconditional love is a very special thing, and I think one of the reasons that many of us have a difficult time believing that God is love or that the presence loves us unconditionally is because we're human. And that's not natural to us until a sort of supernatural breakthrough, awakening starts in us and the heart begins to flower. And then it's all about unconditional love.
Yeah. And like Michael said, there's people that we find challenging, but the spiritual path is to go deeper and be more aware of ourselves and our interactions with people. And so when we start to realize that the outer world is a reflection of the inner world, then it gives us little peekaboos and clues into areas where we still need to continue growing in ourselves and self-acceptance. And that carries over. It begins to spill over of being unconditional with other people, but we've got to start with ourselves first.
Absolutely. I love, Jennifer, I love your response. And I'm glad someone said it. I'm glad it was you. Jennifer says, I struggle with the definition or idea of there being a loving God when there's so much suffering, particularly that of children and animals. Yeah, I get it. But we may have even touched on this last week at some point, but I hear that question often. All the time. I mean, look at the world around you. I mean, how could there be any God at all? And if there is a God, it must be just some horrible being that would allow children to suffer. Particularly the suffering of children and innocent animals, the cruelty that's going on in the world. And how could there be a loving God if all that is being allowed to happen? That's the key, allowing. This was something that Christ tried to get across to his disciples and to all of us. He said that when you come together on the earth and you agree on something, it's going to be done. Whatever you folks loose on the earth, heaven will release that. Whatever you forbid on the earth and bind it, heaven will bind that. In the first book of the Bible in Genesis, in the first chapter, it said that the divine, the Elohim, which actually translates as gods, the gods made humanity, male and female, in their image and in their likeness, and gave us dominion over the earth. Whatever we allow, heaven will allow. Now there's a huge learning curve there. We're like, well, you know, when a dog has babies, what are they?
Puppies.
Puppies. That's right. Okay. And, you know, and when a duck has children, they're ducklings. What happens when a god has children? They're little gods. And actually, I don't have time to show you right now, but in numerous places in Scripture, both in the Hebrew Scriptures and in the Christian Scriptures, it points to the fact that we humans, when we begin to, as we're awakening and transforming, are called Elohim, which is the same name given to God in the beginning. We're like little Elohim, little gods with a small g, who are discovering our true nature. No, we're not bodies. No, we're not minds. Yes, we are spirit beings having a human experience. And we're just beginning to remember and to awaken to who and what we are. When we look at the stuff going on in the world around us and we turn and say, God, why are you letting that happen? It's an insult to the presence, because we're the ones that are making it happen. The divine's not dropping bombs. The divine is not abusing children or animals. In fact, the divine doesn't like that stuff. But the divine's love, good for us, is unconditional. So it's sort of like you realize, if you're going to let your child really learn how to ride a bicycle in freedom, you're going to have to take off the training wheels sooner or later. And that means there are going to be some spills, there are going to be some crashes, and that's the only way to learn, is to allow us to express this creative divinity within us and learn just this is a serious thing and begin to take responsibility.
That goes along with the outer world as a reflection of the inner world, and the more of us that get to a space of inner peace and connection with divinity and unconditional love, and we start to radiate that out. The last few years have been really important for me on my spiritual journey, because I've come to a point where I'm starting to look at the filters that have been placed over my eyes and starting to question that. Is that coming from love, or is that coming from the mind, which is chaos and confusion? So when I'm in my heart, I'm listening on a different level. So if I hear some news about something going on in the world, I have to stop and go within my heart and really see if there's anything else that I need to work on spiritually, so that I can be clear about sending an intention that life doesn't have to be that way anymore. We can live a different way. We can live in peace and harmony. And my resolve has just gotten so much stronger to do that, that instead of having a horrible reaction to hearing bad news, I go immediately into my heart and say, you know, this cannot exist. This can't continue. And if enough of us in the collective get together and do this, we will start to shift. We will start to, we'll start to move into a better world. But people have to wake up to the fact that we've got so many programs and charges, and we are sending a tremendous amount of spiritual and emotional and psychic energy out when we haven't dealt with our inner work.
I really loved Yogi Bhadrapala's reply. Unconditional love. I see the loving potential in all there is, even if they don't see it for themselves.
Nice.
And these are some things we touched on yesterday. When Christ came out of his 40-day fast in the desert and began his miracle-working 3 years, the first thing he said, the first thing he taught, when he opened his mouth and began to teach, he said, and they translated it all wrong, so I'm just going to tell you what he really said. He said, "Be awakened, and you will see the kingdom of heaven is here now." We had a friend in India. I haven't communicated with him in a long time, Jeet Prince. Some of you may know Jeet Prince, but his motto all the time was, "It's all how you perceive. It's all how you perceive." Two people can be on the same planet, and one perceives a hell realm, and the other sees heaven and the loving presence radiating through everything. That's why it's so essential to be awakened. So they translated "be awakened," repent, from the Greek word metanoia, which means to transform your consciousness. Let your consciousness be transformed, he said, and experience the truth in your heart. They translate that "believe the good news." But it actually is to experience in your heart the reality that heaven is here now. Take it a little farther east. A lot of you have done a certain meditation that we still do with groups a lot, Hridaya, which just means chakra meditation. And there are these bija mantras, seed mantras, for the 7 main chakras, from the root chakra to the crown chakra. And all but one of them are single syllable, meaningless sounds that activate the chakras. And very nice. And then you get to the 7th chakra, which is in Kundalini yoga, so important. When the crown chakra opens, you experience oneness with the universe at cosmic consciousness. And when the crown chakra is closed, you experience separation, because the crown chakra is like where we're plugged into the universal grid, the flower of life. So a lot of the work in raising the spiritual energy and opening the chakras is to get to this point where the crown chakra opens in oneness with the universe. Okay, in Hridaya, that 7th mantra is Ogum Satyam Om. And, you know, I've heard people ask for years, what does that mean? What does that chakra mean? I mean, what does that mantra mean? And a few years ago, I did some research into it and discovered that that phrase, that mantra, Ogum Satyam Om, is more frequently found in southern India in yagnas or homas, in the sacred fire rituals, which are just amazing mantric offerings of, well, we're not going to get into that. But Ogum basically means the world that you're living in. Most of us are living in the world of illusion, of veiled reality. Ogum is the world that we're living in and experiencing. Satyam is truth. Some of you heard of Satya Loka, the dimension, about the highest up there before the total transcendence, Satya Loka, the Loka, the realm of truth. So Ogum Satyam Om is an invocation in the crown chakra for the world of truth to be manifest. And there are other mantras that are like that are designed to open our eyes to see what was there. And it turns out, yes, even though this looks really harsh and really rough, this is all a manifestation of divine love. And ultimately, we will get it. We can get it right now if we awaken, because awakening is only now. So I'll leave you with this thought on that if you think you're going to be awakened in the future, you're looking in the wrong place. Awakening only happens now. And it's awaiting your discovery, because if you go deep enough inside and discover the Paramatma, the Atma, the divine being within the center of your being, it is enlightenment itself, and it is divine, and that is your true divine self. The thing you're looking for is you, and it is only to be found now in the middle of this appearance of brutal meanness. It's right there. And it's when enough of us awaken to that, the veils will dissolve and people will see this amazing paradise we're living in for what it is.
A member of our community several years ago, I think about 4 years ago, introduced me to a book called Peace Pilgrim. And I know I used to talk about it a lot, but I think that was what really catalyzed me looking deeper. And I would definitely recommend it. I mean, I started it on a Friday and I finished it Monday, and then I went back and meditated on it for several months. I mean, it's just, there's so many gems in it. Actually, it's probably about time to read it again.
Yeah.
But if you read that book, you'll really understand what unconditional love is, because she just, I mean, even with somebody who's being abusive to her, she just held the space for their healing and just loved them anyway, and people just broke.
I love the way she would answer the question, why do people act the way they do? And a lot of us, because of, the teachings we've been involved in, say they're not awakened. She said immaturity. People act the way they're acting because they're spiritually immature.
Yeah. She just puts everything so simply. There's so many mantras in there, and it really shifted my way of being in the world and looking at the world, and highly recommend it. And during this time, they've been giving it out for free at Peace Pilgrim.
Joanne just said it, yeah. At Peace Pilgrim.
Oh, thank you, Joanne.
PeacePilgrim.com, is that? Yep.
Yeah. And amazing, amazing book. But the other thing I wanted to say too, since the world has been particularly crazy the last several years, that I feel like it's made me go even deeper into that resolve to look at untruths that are not coming from the heart. And because everything is so out of whack, it's pushed me even deeper to look at things through my heart. Because when I get in my head, it just causes, anxiety and panic attacks and stress, and it's not good for your health. And, we are here to do the spiritual work and to grow spiritually. And, or those of us that are drawn to that. Not everybody's here for that.
Which brings in John's.
Oh.
I knew you'd weigh in, John. John said, you said, for those who seek it, it seems to be a waste of time to try to help those who in reality have no interest in practicing any spiritual techniques or principles.
Right.
True. I mean, you have not because you ask not. Seek and you will find. Don't seek and you won't find. Usually. But I'm glad the divine didn't see it that way.
Right.
See, everybody wants to be free of suffering, except for a few weird masochists. But even they want to be free from suffering. They just haven't figured it out. We all want to be liberated from suffering. Okay. We just don't realize that it's possible, some of us, and so of course we're not interested in practicing any spiritual techniques or principles. But look at Eckhart Tolle. He was not interested in practicing any spiritual techniques or principles. And I'm not sure that anybody tried to help him either, but the divine did. He went to sleep one night and the divine dissolved his ego. And he woke up an ego-free man in the morning and is considered to be an enlightened teacher. But I think our time is best spent responding to those who are seeking liberation, who are interested in practicing spiritual techniques and principles. Of course, if you're going to invest your time, invest it in those who are sincere and seeking. But I wouldn't turn away from anyone, because it's just like Peace Pilgrim said, they're just immature. They just don't realize, and it might just be colliding with a person like you, John, that cracks the bubble, that tears a little hole in the veil, and the light begins to get through. But, that is one of the things that evangelical Christians do. They just go after the people that a lot of people that don't want to hear. And they believe that they're extending the invitation to a higher spiritual life. And if you don't tell people about that, people that don't know about it and aren't interested in it, how will they ever find it?
The other thing too, if you're living in your mind and you haven't discovered that there's this realm of the heart and unconditional love of the divine and for ourselves, you may be suffering tremendously in your life, but not actually know that you're suffering, because the norm is that people are running around in their minds and they're on a busy schedule and they're caught up in what they're going to do tomorrow or what happened yesterday, or not in the present moment, and they're not even aware that that's suffering, because they haven't had a taste of that peace that passes all understanding and that unconditional love. So there's a lot of compassion from me that goes out to people that are caught in that state, because once you get a little taste of it, then that's when you go, oh, this could even be better, and start questioning, where is this coming from, the mind or the heart?
Indeed. Well, John also says there are those who have addiction issues, whose addiction is the most important thing in their life. I heard a story of a person whose high was described as beyond 10,000 orgasms. Well, addiction is an issue, but in looking at 12 steps and working with many people who have faced their addictions and broken free, I've come to the conclusion that all of humanity is addicted. The people in 12 steps are maybe one step ahead of a lot of us, because they hit bottom and realize my life's out of control. There's nothing I can do about it. I need the help of a higher power. I surrender and begin to do the inner work. But there's a couple that I met years ago, and I was in a park, and they were trying to score heroin. And of course I wasn't there for that. But they loved heroin, and they were beginning to go into serious withdrawal. They had a heavy intravenous habit of injection of heroin. And I said, I can't help you with that, with what you want. But I said, I'd like to do something else for you if you'd allow me. And they said, what? I said, I'd like to lay my hands on you. I laid my hand, this was a couple. They were a man and a woman that lived together. I laid my hands on both of them, and I had no special gift for this, I guess, but the presence broke the power of their addiction, ended the hardcore heroin withdrawal, just like that. And with it went the desire for that. I think when you find God, or you find the divine source, or you find Brahma or Atma, or however you're going to look at source, when you connect with the Tao, if your addiction was like 10,000 orgasms, then that's like 10 gajillion orgasms. There's suddenly you're hooked on the journey into oneness with the divine, and it breaks all other addictions. It becomes the only addiction is your addiction to oneness with the presence. And that's a healthy one. So we got to go on. But thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah. All very challenging and enlightening, I think. So go ahead and close your eyes and open your heart to the divine presence within you. How do you do that? Just take an intention. The divine presence is in you as the center of your being. Always. It is your sacred divine self. It's there, and it loves you unconditionally. The divine source within you, the presence within you, is pure love. No matter what, it loves you. It is all-wise, all-knowing. It knows everything about you, even the things you haven't even admitted to yourself yet. The divine knows it all and loves you and me anyway. It just yearns to draw us into its embrace. And that attraction that's drawing us into the center in oneness, that is divine love. All we need to do is allow us to be drawn like gravity, drawing us out of the gravitational pull of the earth into the gravitational pull of the sun as we merge with the celestial sun at the center of our being. It's not something you or I can do or have to do. Just let go. And the presence will draw you into its embrace and awaken you and cause your heart to begin to flower. Melt away the pain, the wrong thinking, the programming. Enlighten your spirit, renew your mind, heal your body and your relationships. Just receive what's being poured out to you right now. Drink it in. Whatever problems, weights that you brought with you that are weighing on your heart tonight, release it to the divine. You could just feel it or see it flowing out of your hands and melting into the celestial sun, who knows exactly how to fix it and bring healing and transformation. Let go. No distance between you and this divine source. In the presence we live and move and have our being. We're immersed in it always, just awaiting our invitation to be filled, to be awakened, to be transformed. Still closed, imagine us sitting in a big circle together, a blessing circle. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and invite the presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to all the others in the circle. And know that they're doing the same, and the presence is pouring the blessing through them back to you. Let the blessing flow through you and to you. your hands and put them on your knees or your thighs somewhere. And open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just make sure you keep looking at least one of our eyes directly as we enter the light meditation. The divine pours through us oceans of grace, unconditional love, awakening, transforming blessing, light. It flows through every pore of our being to you, especially through our eyes, the doorways of the soul. That light flows through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the flames of divine love and transformation to burn ever more brightly. There's nothing for you to do but allow just to be. your eyes and meditate with us for just a few more moments as the grace settles within you. Meditating as long as you like, or find a place nearby and lie down in Shavasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just let yourself dissolve in gratitude in the presence. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we cross paths again, know that the divine in us witnesses and acknowledges. We see the divine in you. And we bow to you. Namaste.
Namaste.